Monday, the 21st of September, marked the first day of autumn, a reminder that the season just past was summer and it's officially over. Autumn is a time for foraging, and as a child I would head across local fields in search of mushrooms. It is quite a thrill to find a group of mushrooms. I found some giant puffballs 3 or 4 weeks ago. Looking for mushrooms in the field nearby, I can see some good mushrooms to pick. These are the best mushrooms I found, and these will end up inside a mushroom omelette for breakfast. The first colours of autumn are just starting to appear in the trees and hedgerows. It won't be long before the trees are in full colour and their leaves begin to drop. Looking at the hedgerows, there are plenty of blackberries to be picked. Different species of blackberries have been ripe for a few weeks already. The later fruiting varieties can be picked well into October. Trees laden with apples are also in our woodlands and hedgerows. Blackberry and apple, a perfect combination in jams, pies and crumbles. Another fruit showing its true colours at this time of year is that of the buckthorn. The fruit is a sloe and it is a close cousin of the damson. Unlike damsons, sloes are not recommended for eating directly. However, both sloes and damsons make an excellent addition to gin. Sloe gin and damson gin are both favourite Christmas tipples. As the nights draw in, the sunlight is less intense and the nights get colder. Apples and pears in orchards are reaching their peak. The bright reds of eating apples contrast with the greens of Bramley cooking apples. While plums are coming to the end of their season, damsons are ripe and ready to harvest. This is a timely reminder to pick and preserve fruit for the winter months ahead. Today I'm going to look at preserving fruit and particularly damsons. The traditional way to preserve fruit is with sugar to make jam. Making jam is something of a lost art and perhaps seen as something only the WI would do. When looking at the jams in the supermarket, there are many different brands and types available in all price ranges. But no blackberry and apple jam. I can't see any Damson jam either. My childhood memories are of my mum making different jams. I remember marvelling at the colours, flavours and smells. I never really appreciated just how easy it is to make your own jam, or just how good it tastes. Jam making is very rewarding while creating a deliciously flavoured preserve. Damson jam is one of my favourite jams, bursting with fruit flavour. Let's follow the process and make some damson jam. Before starting, you'll need some clean empty jam jars and some sugar. In the sugar aisle, there are different types of sugar available for preserving. These have different levels of a substance called pectin. Pectin is the ingredient that helps the jam set. You can even buy bottles of pectin. Damsons and plums contain pectin naturally. That means I can use normal sugar to make damson jam. I need to make sure I have enough before I start the jam making process. Preserving sugar is nearly 4 times the price of ordinary sugar. I'm buying granulated sugar at 59p a kilo. Sugar prices have collapsed recently with own brand sugar as little as 40p. Now I've got the jam jars and sugar sorted, I need some damsons. Kew Gardens Farm Shop in Abingdon, Oxfordshire is a good place to go for soft fruit. As well as ready picked fruit, the farm offers pick your own. The orchards have different varieties of plums, greengages and damsons. The trees are neatly laid out in rows and are carrying heavy crops of fruit this year. A sunny autumn day is an opportunity to take advantage of pick your own. Today at Kew Gardens Farm Shop in Abingdon, Oxfordshire, to pick some damsons from the tree. This pick your own allows me to pick enough damsons from the tree to be able to make some glorious damson jam when I get home. You can see there are plenty of damsons ready for picking right now. It's time to prepare the damsons by washing them and putting them into a saucepan. One of the key things is to select firm fruit even if it is underripe. If the damsons are too ripe, they are not good for jam making and can spoil the keeping quality of the jam. With most members of the plum family, you can cut the plum around the ridge, twist and remove the stone. With damsons, that's a real challenge. It is a lot easier to put the whole fruit into the pan, bring to the boil and remove the stones during the cooking process. This step does mean damson jam can be a little more complex than other jams. Okay, I've done the washing of the fruit. Now I'm going to check the weight just to see whether I need to add any more to the saucepan. I've got just under 1.3 kilos, which is pretty perfect as far as I'm concerned for the batch of jam I want to make today. I'm now going to add 200 ml of water to that. Okay, now it's time to start cooking. I've got a pan full of damsons ready to go. I'm going to put them on a medium heat to get them started, and once they start to boil, the fruit will start to disintegrate. I'll then be able to take the stones out of the fruit. They'll all start to appear on the surface. While the damsons are heating up, put a saucer in the fridge or freezer ready to test the jam for setting. The damsons have come to the boil and we can add the sugar. Sugar can be added before the fruit reaches the boil, and some recipes even suggest this. Using 1.3 kilos of fruit and removing the stones, I'll be left with about 1.1 kilos of fruit. I'll take a bag of sugar and pour it into the liquor. That's the first part to stir in and dissolve. The sugar dissolves quickly in the hot liquid. Now I'll add the remainder. The stones are beginning to rise to the surface of the fruit liquor. I'll scoop the stones out of the jam to avoid getting them in the jars. In the meantime, turn the oven on and put the jam jars into the oven. A temperature of 100 Celsius will sterilise the jars and prevent some cracking when the hot liquid is poured into them. I can scoop the stones off the top of the liquor. There's a few in here. Pull out the stones and discard them. I get as many stones out as I can. I need to mash the liquor to encourage the damsons to release the stones during the cooking. The stones float more readily after sugar has been added. You can remove the stones before adding sugar though, and stop the jam making at that point. The resulting fruit pulp can then be frozen and the jam making process resumed at a later time. Here's one I prepared earlier. You can also do this with plums, freezing the cooked fruit at this point. Here's plum I prepared earlier. The fruit pulp can also be used for other desserts as well. You would need to add some sugar to taste depending on the dessert you're making. These are the stones removed from this batch of the damson jam. All of the stones have now been removed. The jam is boiling nicely and we wait for the jam to be ready to set. A little scum on the side is normal. The jam has been boiling for several minutes and now it's time to test the jam for setting. Take the saucer out of the fridge or freezer and spoon a small amount of the jam liquid onto the saucer. Allow it to cool. Then push the jam with your finger to see if it wrinkles. This sample is close, but it's not really ready yet. Boil the jam for 5 more minutes. Then do another test on the liquor. Spoon onto the saucer and allow to cool. Look how this jam is wrinkling ahead of my finger as I push it. This jam is now ready for bottling. Take the jam jars out of the oven. Using a jam funnel, pour the jam into the jar to within a centimetre of the top. Now screw the lids on while they're still hot. The air above the jam will be hot, and as it cools it will form a vacuum in the jar. The yield is 3 12-ounce jars, 3 8-ounce jars and part of a jar. Not only is the jam homemade and so flavoursome, an 8-ounce jar and a 12-ounce jar have cost about £1 between them. Leave the jars overnight to cool off. The next morning you can see the vivid colour of the jam. Wipe the jars clean to clear any splashes of jam. Then label each of the jars. The final stage is to taste the jam. In a word, stunning. Homemade jam is delicious. I hope this video has inspired you to have a go.